Hello, my name is Lara Brockway. I work at Visit Albuquerque. I'm the social media manager for Visit Albuquerque. So I work in travel and also marketing. And so I can talk to you a little bit about both. So let's get started. All right, so we'll start with me in middle school. So that's me. And I was really into fashion. You can tell by my picture on the left at the time. I was in track. So that's me jumping. I think I made it 4 feet during that long jump, which is not very good. If any of you have ever done long jump, 4 feet is not that good. But at the time, I was really proud of myself. So that's me, midair. And then on the right, I was also the mascot at my high school. We were the Cardinals. I grew up in rural Kansas in a town called Brookville. My middle school and high school, 6 through 12, were all in the same building, and then there were about 30 kids in my class that I grew up with and then graduated with. So there were some downsides to that, one of which was I did feel a little disconnected from the rest of the world because I was really in the middle of nowhere. But there were perks to that, which were I could try anything. If I wanted to try being on the track team, I could do that. If I wanted to be in theater, I could try that. If I wanted to be a mascot, no one else was doing it, so I could try that. So there were definite perks to doing it and to being in a school like that, but there were downsides as well. So that was me in middle school. I was super awkward and I was really into computer games and things like that. But you know, it all leads to where we are today. So go to the next one. All right, so this was my general career path. So when I was 16, I started working at Little Caesars. I was the sign spinner out front of Little Caesars, and I also did front desk, and I eventually became the front desk manager. At the time, I was making $7.25 an hour, so very low amount, but I was, working really hard, spinning the sign, in the sweaty hot weather, and really earning those $7. So that's what I was doing at Little Caesars. I worked there for about 4 or 5 years, from 16 till I was about 20, 21. So yeah, after that, after high school, I went to Wichita State University, which is a university in Kansas. While there, I studied marketing. I ended up getting my bachelor's in marketing. But during my time there, I was able to be the mascot at that university, which was super fun. That was the Shockers. I don't know if you guys follow university basketball or anything, but I was a shock of wheat. And so I was able to be the mascot there, which was really great. While at Wichita State, they had this wonderful program called the National Student Exchange, which is where you could go to any other state in the country for up to a year for university for the same price as what you were paying back in your home state. So I wanted to try living by mountains, so I ended up being able to go to Albuquerque, to the University of New Mexico. I was able to be the mascot here as well, so I was able to be Lucy Lobo for a year, which was super fun. And I was able to continue on in my marketing studies and things like that, and kind of learn what it was like to be in a place that had more tourism. I'd always been interested in tourism, but Kansas wasn't necessarily the top destination on everyone's list. So it was great to come here to a place where a lot of people want to travel to. And I actually interned at Visit Albuquerque. It was a free internship. I wasn't getting paid while I was here. So it was a really good experience. After the University of New Mexico, I was able to do the Disney College program. Has anybody ever heard of the Disney College program? Yeah? Yeah, so that was really great. I was able to get that position because I actually worked at Little Caesars. They needed people to work in fast food in the park. So I worked in Epcot, flipping burgers and taking orders and things like that, wiping down tables. So it was a really great experience. I did that for about 9 months. And it was great because my Little Caesars experience brought me to Walt Disney World. I was able to learn from people who are, some of the best hospitality professionals in the industry. And anytime anybody would see that on my resume, they knew that brand. So that was a really great thing for me. And then after that, I moved here. I ended up working a couple of other jobs. I worked at Manal School for a little while. But then I eventually found my way back to Visit Albuquerque, which is where I work now. And Visit Albuquerque is the destination marketing organization for Albuquerque. So what we do is we help market the city to people in other cities, states, and countries to try to inspire people to travel to our city. All right, so here's a little bit more information about my job now. So I'm the social media manager, which I'll get into a little bit about that, but my purpose for working where I am is to try to inspire not only visitors in other places to come here, but also to inspire locals to enjoy Albuquerque more, because if you can make your locals love your city, then you can make everyone else love your city too. It's really great. So I feel like I have a couple of different audiences when I'm posting to try to inspire people to enjoy Albuquerque. I try to just generally bring up positive sentiment about the city, not only here, but in other places. And how I do that is I go to different businesses, different hiking trails, different events. I grab footage, or I grab video, or I grab photos, or I interview people, and then I'll put all of these things together to make reels, TikToks, carousel posts, Facebook posts, things like that, blog posts as well. And people, on social media or who are just scrolling the internet will see that and hopefully be inspired to learn a little bit more about Albuquerque. All right, so a lot of people here may be generally interested in hospitality, things like that, but why does Albuquerque and why do different cities pay money to inspire people to travel there? Like, why does Albuquerque invest money to market the city to others? Does anybody know why that might be? Yeah, so when visitors come to Albuquerque, or when they come anywhere, but when visitors come to Albuquerque, they might come for a weekend trip, but while they're here, they're spending money on hotels, they're spending money on restaurants, they're spending money on gas, and from shopping and museum admissions and everything like that. And what they're doing is they're coming to Albuquerque, spending all that money, and then they're leaving. And so then that puts money into Albuquerque's economy, and that benefits everyone who lives here. So that's why the city puts so much money into marketing the city. But it is not near as much money as what actually comes back from putting that money in. So it's generally a profitable thing, is to put that into. So that's why the city of Albuquerque invests money into that, and that's why me and all of the people in the city who work in hospitality that's why we have jobs. Does anybody have any idea how many people in Albuquerque are in the hospitality industry? It's okay, I'll just tell you, because so 45,000 people in Albuquerque are in the hospitality industry. That's a lot of people. That's like 1 in 16 people in our city are employed by that. So it's a huge industry. It's a top 5 industry in our state. All right, and so beyond that part, my specific job is in regards to social media. So like I said, I post on social media about Albuquerque to try to inspire people to visit here. How many people in this room are on social media? If you could raise your hands high for me. Yes, so most of you. So what are you all on, if you wouldn't mind telling me? TikTok, yes, okay. Anything else? Instagram, I heard. And maybe, did you say Snapchat, maybe? I don't know. Anything else that I'm missing? Okay, so Visit Albuquerque is on nearly everything except Snapchat. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, Pinterest, YouTube, all of those. And so every single week I'm posting on all of those consistently. So I'm spending 40 plus hours a week creating those things, using images, shooting photos, things like that, to put on all of those different sites. So that's what I'm doing. Now, another thing I like to say is, since you all are maybe avid users of social media, you might be familiar with that. Social media, like anything else, there's some good sides and some bad sides. Social media is a lot of things, so you can use it for good or bad, just like with anything else. So on social media, there are things where people might not be very nice. There are some things where you might read things that are factually untrue, or there might be some things that really stress you out on there. But like with anything on social media, there are also super positive things. So what I like to tell people of all ages is, if you're on social media, look at it as a tool instead of a place to socialize. Look at it as a tool. So if there's something you've always wanted to learn, or if there's something you wanted to try, there's probably a TikTok summing up what you're wanting to do in 3 minutes, which is just an amazing way to learn. And so if you're on social media and if it's stressing you out and things like that, try reframing your mind and looking at it as a tool instead to improve your life. So that's generally what I do for Visit Albuquerque, is I do the social media and I try to inspire people to come here. And so now we'll get into a little bit of facts about Albuquerque. So does anybody know the largest attraction in New Mexico for visitors? Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's Balloon Fiesta. Does anybody have any idea how many people come to Balloon Fiesta about every year over the 9 days? 10,000 is the first guess. Does anybody have any other guesses? Okay, 100. What? 11,000? Okay, what about you? You said 1 million? Okay, you said 1 million. Okay, so he is actually the closest. So it's about, throughout the 9 days that Balloon Fiesta takes place, anywhere between 800 and 900,000 people come to Albuquerque to experience it. And that's an amazing amount of people because the city of Albuquerque has like 800,000 people, and the entire population of New Mexico is only about 2 million. So that means about half the state's population comes to Albuquerque for those 9 days and spends their money here. So that's why during that time, a lot of traffic, a lot of people you might not recognize in the town, but it's a huge deal for our city and our state, and that's why, the city continues to put on that event. So that's kind of a big deal. And so that is our biggest attraction in New Mexico. The second largest is the Santa Fe Indian Market, but it's a lot smaller. A lot less people come to that. So yeah. So another big thing is the mountains. And so a huge attraction in Albuquerque is that we are super close to mountains. And in the mountains we have this, the tram, the San Diego Peak Tramway. Have any of you ever heard of that or been on it? Yes. Yeah, so that is the longest tram in the Americas, so it inspires a lot of people to come here, and they want to experience going from the bottom of the mountain to the top in 15 minutes. It's a huge deal, and really, for some reason, come on a trip to Albuquerque just to experience that. Oh, the state fair, yeah, so that's another big one. We have consistently ranked one of the best state fairs in the country. It's great, and it's 10 days, happens every single year, so that's a great one. Yeah, so another cool thing about the hospitality industry is there's a huge range of how you can get involved in it. So I started at Little Caesars, which technically is a part of the hospitality industry because I was working in food service. And you can do that. I have also worked front desk at a hotel, housekeeping, I did that for a little while, things like that. And all of that helped me with my job now, which is general marketing of Albuquerque as a tourist destination. So if any of you maybe are planning to get jobs when you turn 16, or maybe some of you are already working and maybe you're working in food or things like that, that's great experience for your future because it all is combined. If they know that you have general customer service experience, then they'll be more inclined to hire you in a job where you're working with people and working with visitors. So that's really great. All right. I think that's the end of kind of my general formal presentation, but does anyone have any questions about the hospitality industry, or social media, or marketing, or Albuquerque? So my favorite hidden gem that I feel like a lot of people maybe aren't as familiar with outside of the city is the Indian Public Cultural Center. Have any of you ever been there? Yes? Okay, so there's some really cool facts about that, which is that the Indian Public Cultural Center is owned and operated by the 19 Native American pueblos in the state. And it is honestly probably the only place in the world where 19 different sovereign nations are coming together to operate on a project like that, because that's a super rare thing for any amount of nations to agree on anything. And so for 19 to be able to come together and put on this fantastic cultural center is just amazing. But on top of that, there's really cool hiking trails in the Sandias. There's even caves. I don't know if you guys know if there's caves that you can explore in the Sandias. I've never actually been there, but I'll have to go there. It's like a mile hike. You can go and then you crawl in. There's these really cool caves. So that's another fun thing that a lot of people didn't know about. And another kind of random fact about Albuquerque is that it's a huge destination for bird watchers. So I don't know if you guys have ever gone bird watching. I haven't, but there's really cool birds that actually are only in Albuquerque. They're like pigeon jays or something. I don't know, I'm not a birder, but there's a particular bird species that only exists here in the city. So a lot of people will travel here for that. Yeah. So there's a couple of things. So first, I think starting out at minimum wage helped me to appreciate any amount of money more than minimum wage. So that was a big deal. I think another thing is that it's incredibly humbling to work in a job like that because you get to meet people from all different walks of life who come in and they're just, getting food and stuff like that. But you have the opportunity to talk with them. A lot of them are regulars. You might have some bad experiences, you might have some really good experiences, but I think throughout all of it, you learn a lot about being humble and a lot about being patient because people are crazy sometimes. You have to work with them and you have to be emotionally intelligent enough to get your job done and make them happy, even if they come in and they're not happy. So I think that's what I learned is patience, humbleness, things like that. Okay, so I feel like the most unique hike is probably La Luz. Have you guys heard of La Luz? Yeah? Yeah, so that one's super unique because it's really rare. I don't know of another one, I'm sure there is, but it's really rare to have a hike where you can hike from the bottom of mountain to the top and you reach different zones. So you start at a desert and you end in a forest, that's pretty rare. And then you don't even have to hike down, you just take the tram down. So that I think is the best one, but it is 7 miles, so I'm prepared for that. So that is my favorite one, but also the Petroglyph National Monument on the west side is amazing and super unique because it's right next to the city. It touches the city. So a lot of people can even walk there from their house to this amazing historical national monument. And so I think that one's super cool. Have any of you been to the Petroglyph National Monument? I'm sure. Yeah, that one's great. So. Yes, I have been to Carlsbad Caverns. Yeah, so that's a big deal too. National parks. I used to work at a national park actually in North Dakota. National parks are one of the biggest drivers of American tourism in all of the country, our national parks. There's really nothing like it in any other country. No other country has the national park system that we have. There's millions and millions of acres of land that are protected by this, and they have certain protections that other pieces of land don't. And so visitors can come and see land in its almost completely natural state. So yes, the caverns are great, and they're a huge driver for New Mexico tourism. But in general, any national park you go to, just know that it's probably one of the biggest drivers of tourism for that area. How much money do I make? Yeah. So I make $65,000 a year. But there's a huge range. So I have a friend who makes $30,000, and then I have another friend who she's an influencer, and she has her own brand stuff, and she makes $300,000. So there's a really big range for social media, and that's the thing is I used to work at a homeless shelter doing their social media. I was making $20K. So it really just depends on the organization you're working for. Yeah, so I use Adobe for pretty much all of it, the Adobe suite. Have you all ever been in Adobe before? Yeah. So that's really important. I didn't learn it in high school, so I actually had to go back to get a graphic design certificate to learn Adobe because I'd never used it before. But now that I'm more familiar in it, that's what I use. Yeah. So a big thing of what I do is I'll go to different businesses in town and I'll grab footage of the place, but I won't only grab footage and images, but I'll also make sure to interview the business owner. Because a lot of the people who own restaurants and museums and shops in the city are super interesting and they have a really good story to tell. And they contribute to the city's culture. So there are a lot of business owners here in Albuquerque, but also all over the country who speak Spanish primarily and only. And so I've been studying Spanish for about 4 or 5 years. I'm not incredible at it, but I can muddle through conversations. And that's helped a lot because a lot of these fantastic business owners with really good stories to tell would be able to tell me them if I couldn't meet them on their language. So if you are bilingual or if you are studying Spanish, I think that's a super useful skill, and you'll find that moving forward in life, you'll probably use it more than you expect to. So, yeah. Yeah, of course, yeah. So, like, as we were saying, there's a huge range of ways to be involved in this industry. You can work in restaurants, you can work front desk at hotels, housekeeping, you can work in marketing, you can work in all of those things. And so the range is high school degree, all the way up to, I'd say most people stop at about a master's. I got a bachelor's in marketing, and that was enough for me, but a lot of my colleagues got a master's in marketing or journalism or things like that, and then that helped them because a huge part of this job, my job in particular, but also any job in the hospitality industry, is being able to communicate both written and speaking. And so being able to know how to write and like form sentences and be effective in your speech and conveying what you're wanting is a huge part of it. So yeah, you could start with a high school degree and get involved in the industry, but it goes all the way up to, I mean, I'm sure there is somebody with a doctorate, but I haven't seen that be super required for the things that we're doing. So yeah. So I feel like the best piece of advice that my mom gave me and that I always tell interns and things is to just show up. A big thing is to just come as often as you possibly can. So I will really only call in sick if I'm like sick, like, you know, things like that. If it's like, oh, I'm not feeling this today, you know, generally I really try to push through and make it, because if you show up every day and if people are like, oh, this is a reliable person that goes to work every day or goes to this you know, event at 9, or goes to all these things and says yes to these things, then you're going to be more likely to be chosen for opportunities to for advancement in your career. So that's what I would say: show up as often as you can. Yeah, so as he was saying, and a lot of you might have already experienced, but sometimes people come into an interaction and they're just in a nasty mood, and maybe they're always in a nasty mood. And so if they come in and they're mean to you, it's never ever about you. Honestly. And I am a person who takes things very personally. And so that is one thing I learned in a job like this, is that you need to separate yourself, because they're more focused on themselves than they are on you. So when I was working at Walt Disney World, I had to work Christmas Eve, which I was already emotional about because I miss my family. And so I was working Christmas Eve, and one of my jobs was pointing people to different registers. So there's a whole line of people, and I was like, okay, you're gonna go to this one, you're gonna go to this one. And this guy came up and I accidentally put him in a line that was a little longer than another line. And so he didn't like that. So he came back to me and he like poked me like here. He's like, what are you doing? You need to pay attention. And I was like, whoa, something else is going on here. So I just like backed up, and I got my manager to talk to him, but then I was sad. So I like took like 15-minute break. I just went downstairs, found one of my friends and like cried. But the point was, it wasn't about him, or excuse me, it wasn't about me, it was all about him. He operated in that situation wrong, I did nothing wrong. And that's the thing, is you're gonna see that a lot. Not everybody that you meet who's older than you is always in the right, but the thing you can control is not them, but yourself. So remove yourself if you can, and just make sure that they, you know, don't see you break, because that's the thing. You just separate yourself, take the time to breathe, and come back at it. Yeah, well, thank you all so much. If you have any other questions, I'll be sitting here, so if you want to talk more one-on-one, then that sounds great.